Jimmy Haslam walked into a press conference in early February and said something Cleveland Browns fans have been waiting years to hear from the owner of this franchise. Not, "We're committed to winning." Every owner says that. Not, "We have a plan." That one gets recycled every coaching change. What Haslam said was simpler and more specific and more directly tied to the daily experience of being a Cleveland Browns fan than anything he has said in years. "We're not going to be ugly to watch." 5 words. And if you have sat through 2 seasons of watching the 31st ranked offense in the NFL in 2025 and the dead last offense in 2024, if you have absorbed those 15-point per game averages and those 300-yard games and those drives that went nowhere for reasons that felt simultaneously inevitable and inexplicable, those 5 words landed differently than they would have at any other moment in this franchise's recent history. Because the man saying them was not just making a promise. He was announcing a philosophy. He was telling you that he had watched what his own team looked like for 2 years, found it genuinely unacceptable, and made the specific organizational decision to hire the one person whose entire professional history is defined by doing exactly the opposite of what Cleveland's offense has been doing. The person is Todd Monken. The system is what he built at Tampa Bay in Georgia and Baltimore. And the transformation he is attempting in Cleveland, with Haslam's full-throated, documented, publicly stated, owner-level support behind it, is the specific revolution that the numbers say is coming for this offense. Tonight we tell the full story of the Haslam-Monken partnership, what the data says about every offense Monken has ever touched, and why the specific combination of ownership support and proven system and rebuilt roster might actually produce the thing Cleveland's fanbase has not experienced in years. Football that is fun to watch. Subscribe right now. Let's go. The context matters. Before you understand why Haslam's support for Monken is significant, you have to understand what the support is responding to. Because the thing Haslam is committing to change is not just the win-loss record. It is a specific, documented, historically exceptional level of offensive failure that made the 2024 and 2025 Cleveland Browns among the worst offensive teams this city has ever had to watch. The Browns were 31st of 32 NFL teams with 16.4 points a game in 2025 and 30th with 262.1 yards a game. In 2024 they were last with 15.2 points and 28th with 300.8 yards. Sharp football analysis. Last. And 31st. 2 consecutive seasons of historically poor offensive production. 15-point per game averages. 16-point per game averages. The kind of numbers that lose games not because the defense fails but because the offense never gives the defense enough help to make the defensive excellence mean anything in the scoreboard column. Myles Garrett setting a sack record while the offense produces 15 points a game is the specific Cleveland Browns experience of the past 2 years, defensive excellence coexisting with offensive futility in a way that produces a 5-win record and a coaching change. When Haslam and general manager Andrew Berry explained the decision to fire Stefanski, the lack of victories the last 2 years was a primary factor. Let's be careful with a lot more, but do I expect we'll win more games? I do. And I think we'll have a better football team and we're not going to be ugly to watch, Haslam said, referencing a columnist's depiction. Sharp football analysis. A columnist had called Cleveland's offense ugly to watch. Haslam heard it. He acknowledged it publicly. And he made it part of the mandate, not just the football mandate of adding wins, but the aesthetic mandate of producing football that the paying customers in Huntington Bank Field and the viewers watching on CBS and Amazon Prime and Fox could actually enjoy watching. That is a different kind of ownership commitment than the standard "we want to compete." It is a commitment to a specific quality of football experience that the previous 2 seasons failed to provide. The reason Haslam believes Monken can deliver on that commitment is not hope or instinct. It is data. And the data on every offense Todd Monken has been in charge of tells a story so consistent, so dramatic, and so specific about what his system does to the teams that run it that the only honest word for it is a track record. A comprehensive review of Monken's history as an offensive coordinator and head coach shows the following. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2016 through 2018. Before Monken arrived, the offense ranked 5th, averaging 21.8 points and 375.9 yards per game. Year 1 with Monken, ranked 18th, 22.1 points, 346.4 yards. Year 2, ranked 9th, 20.9 points, 363.5 yards. Year 3, ranked 3rd, 24.8 points, 415.5 yards. 3 consecutive seasons of improvement culminating in a top 3 offense. Dog pound daily. Top 3 in year 3 at Tampa Bay. With Jameis Winston as the quarterback. With a roster that was competitive but not elite. Monken took over an offense that was 5th in the league, already good, and made it better through installation and development rather than wholesale roster change. The year-over-year improvement tells the story of a system that gets better as the players learn it, not one that requires new personnel to produce results. Then Georgia. Georgia offensive coordinator. Before Monken arrived in 2020, the Georgia offense ranked 49th in college football. Year 1 with Monken, ranked 38th, 32.3 points, 424 yards. Year 2, ranked 9th, 38.6 points, 443 yards. Year 3, ranked 5th, 41.1 points, 501 yards. Back-to-back national championships. Dog pound daily. 49th to 5th. In 3 years. With college players who were being asked to learn a professional-level offensive system for the first time. The trajectory is not a coincidence, it is the specific pattern of a Monken offense as the players absorb the scheme and develop the trust and execution required to run it at full speed. Year 1 is installation. Year 2 is implementation. Year 3 is the version where the system is running at the level it was designed to produce. Georgia won national championships in years 2 and 3. The arc bends toward excellence. And then Baltimore. Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator. Before Monken arrived in 2023, the Ravens ranked 16th in the NFL, averaging 30.5 points and 338.8 yards. Year 1 with Monken, ranked 6th, 28.4 points, 370 yards. Year 2, ranked 1st, 20.9 points per game, 424.9 yards per game. Year 3, ranked 16th, dog pound daily. 1st in the NFL. In year 2 at Baltimore. The entire league, every defensive coordinator, every coaching staff, every preparation team in professional football working against an offense that still produced the most yards per game in the entire NFL. The Baltimore offense in Monken's second year was not just good. It was the standard by which every other offense in professional football was measured. Andrew Berry said, "He's won with the following quarterbacks: Nick Mullens, Jameis Winston, Stetson Bennett IV and Lamar Jackson, all of whom have entirely different skill sets. And he's won running the ball, he's won passing the ball. He was one of the early air raid coordinators in college, then he went to Tampa Bay and was an early adopter of hard play action, hit the drifts over the middle. Then Georgia was a marriage of different things. I actually thought the coolest evolution was the contrast in his first 2 years in Baltimore. Sharp football analysis. Nick Mullens and Lamar Jackson. In the same breath. A backup quarterback and the likely MVP of his era. Jameis Winston and Stetson Bennett, a veteran gunslinger and a walk-on quarterback who nobody outside of Georgia believed in before the national championships arrived. Monken has won with every quarterback type available because his system is not built around a specific quarterback's gifts. It is built around creating mismatches through scheme design, through the pre-snap motion and route combination complexity and quarterback-friendly throw structures that make any competent quarterback more efficient regardless of their individual talent ceiling. That is the specific quality that makes the system potentially revolutionary for Cleveland. Because the Browns have Watson and Sanders and Gabriel competing for a starting job, and the honest assessment is that none of them is Lamar Jackson. But none of them needs to be. The system worked with Nick Mullens. If Monken can produce offense with a backup quarterback whose primary qualification was being available, he can produce offense with the players Cleveland has competing for the job in 2026. Haslam said, "He's won with the following quarterbacks, all of whom have entirely different skill sets, and he's won running the ball, he's won passing the ball, made him a really attractive candidate. So excited to have him in the building. I think he's off to a good start building and rebuilding the staff. And I really, truly believe that good things are ahead." Sharp football analysis. Good things are ahead. That is Jimmy Haslam communicating organizational conviction, the specific confidence of an owner who has watched the same offensive failure for 2 consecutive years, who identified the root cause as schematic and coaching rather than purely personnel, and who has made the organizational decision to address the root cause by hiring the person whose entire professional history is defined by the opposite of what Cleveland's offense has been doing. Per Zach Jackson of The Athletic, the Browns' new head coach will have full freedom to choose his starting quarterback. The fact that this even makes the news says everything about Haslam and the way he's run the team. Sports Illustrated. Full freedom. The specific organizational shift that every previous Cleveland coaching situation needed and never fully received. Every coordinator who tried to install a system in Cleveland over the past decade did so in the shadow of ownership preferences, contract obligations, and the specific Watson sunk cost psychology that prevented genuine organizational clarity at the quarterback position. Monken is getting something different. He is getting the authority to make the football decision based on football merit. The fact that this has to be specifically reported as news, the fact that a head coach having full authority over his own depth chart is noteworthy rather than assumed, tells you everything about the previous organizational culture. And the shift away from that culture is what makes the Haslam-Monken partnership feel different from the Haslam-Stefanski partnership that produced 2 coordinator firings and an 8-26 record over the final 2 years. Maybe Haslam trusts his gut as an offensive guru, given his proven success in college and in the pros. Or maybe he's just learned his lesson. Either way, this is a positive shift in Cleveland. Sports Illustrated. A positive shift. Stated plainly, the most important organizational evolution of the entire offseason is not a roster move or a draft pick. It is the owner genuinely stepping back from the football decision-making and letting the football person make the football decision. That shift, if it holds through training camp and through the quarterback competition and through the first few weeks of the season when early results will inevitably generate pressure from every direction, is the foundation of everything Monken's system needs to produce its results. At the 2026 NFL annual meeting, managing and principal partners Dee and Jimmy Haslam reiterated their commitment to fixing the success of the Browns. "I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start by saying that we share our fans' frustration," Jimmy Haslam said. "The last 2 seasons have not been good. We're not fun to watch and we hadn't won games. And I just want to let the fans know that Dee and I, JW, Whitney, our entire organization, feel their pain and we're 1000% committed to getting this fixed and getting it right." At Taz Sports. 1000%. That is the specific language of an owner who has been through enough public failure to understand that the credibility required to say "this time is different" can only be earned by being different in the ways that actually matter, not just in the press conference language, but in the organizational decisions that follow. The draft class that produced Spencer Fano and KC Concepcion and Denzel Boston. The free agency investments in Titus Howard and Zion Johnson and Elgton Jenkins. The coaching staff filled with developers and schemers who speak the same offensive language. All of it is the 1000% in action. All of it is ownership following through on the specific commitment that Monken was hired to lead. Haslam said, "I believe we'll have the youngest team next year in the NFL." Barry added, "We wanted someone who could lead, develop, and grow a young team. Because quite frankly, we're probably going to be, if not the youngest, one of the youngest teams in football in 2026. ESPN. The youngest team. That framing is important for understanding what the Monken system is being asked to do, not just produce football that is fun to watch in September, but produce the developmental environment where the youngest roster in the NFL grows into something genuinely competitive. And Monken's track record specifically includes the development of young players. Georgia was built on taking college players who were not yet refined and making them excellent through the specific teaching quality that Barry described when he said the coaching staff needed developers as well as schemers. The developers and schemers coaching staff. The youngest team in football. The most favorable schedule in the league. The offensive line rebuilt through 6 additions in free agency and the draft. The receiver room completely overhauled with 3 new weapons. And behind all of it, supporting all of it with the specific organizational commitment that the system requires to actually work, is Jimmy Haslam, saying publicly that he trusts this man, that he is stepping back from the quarterback decision, that he is 1000% committed to making this right. Now here is the part that should make every Cleveland fan sit up straight. The part about what happens when Monken's system runs at full speed in its second and third years, because the data says year 1 is good, year 2 is great, and year 3 is the thing that changes the entire conversation about a franchise. At Tampa Bay, year 1 was ranked 18th, year 2 was 9th, year 3 was 3rd. At Georgia, year 1 was ranked 38th, year 2 was 9th, year 3 was 5th with back-to-back national championships. At Baltimore, year 1 was 6th, year 2 was 1st, dog pound daily. Every single time. The pattern holds across every environment. Year 1 is the installation year, the system arrives, the players learn it, the results are good enough but not transformative. Year 2 is where the system starts to run and the results become impressive. Year 3 is where it becomes dominant. Cleveland in 2026 is year 1. Rough edges, learning curves, early season road games while the offense finds its footing. Cleveland in 2027 is year 2. The quarterback competition resolved, the young players with a full year of system knowledge, the scheme running closer to the design speed. Cleveland in 2028 if the organizational commitment holds, if the quarterback situation produces the answer, if the youngest team in the NFL does what young teams do when they are given the right development environment. Cleveland in 2028 looks like Tampa Bay in year 3 and Georgia in year 3. Top 5. Dominant. Fun to watch in the specific way that Haslam promised in February. The revolutionary part of the Monken system is not what it does in year 1. It is what it becomes. And the question for Cleveland's fanbase is not whether 2026 will look like a finished product. It is whether the organizational patience exists to let the system reach year 2 and year 3 before the pressure to make another coaching change arrives. Monken's also 60 years old. He brings an inherent urgency to win, especially given the history of instability during Haslam's tenure. Sharp football analysis. 60 years old. His first NFL head coaching job. A man who spent 37 years in football coaching waiting for this specific opportunity and who knows, with the specific clarity of someone who has been patient this long and finally arrived, that there is not unlimited time to produce results. The urgency is real. It is not performed for press conferences. It is the motivational core of a coach who is not here to build towards something eventually. He is here to build something now. And the specific combination of his urgency, his system's documented trajectory, Haslam's stated organizational patience, and the most favorable schedule in the NFL is the specific alignment of factors that makes 2026 feel genuinely different from every previous Cleveland offensive revolution that never quite arrived. Jimmy Haslam said about Shedeur Sanders, "He's been in Cleveland most of the winter, and I think that says a lot for his dedication to wanting to be an NFL quarterback and understanding what it takes. His body looks better. I think he's been working hard. I think Shedeur got an education and my instincts are he'll come back ready to play." At Taz Sports. Ready to play. The owner of the Cleveland Browns, describing his second-year quarterback, saying his instincts tell him he will come back ready. Not a guarantee. Not a depth chart declaration. An instinct, communicated publicly, that the player who has been in Cleveland most of the winter working on Monken's system has done the specific thing that the system requires to produce its results. The work. The daily installation. The building of the specific football knowledge that allows a player to run the Monken offense at the speed it was designed to run. The offensive system that Haslam is supporting and Monken is installing is not a gamble. It is a documented, data-backed, historically proven approach to making offenses dramatically better over the course of 2 and 3 years. The gamble, the only real one, is whether the organizational patience required to let the system reach its full expression actually exists in Cleveland's ownership structure after decades of coaching changes and quarterback revolutions and fresh starts that were not fresh enough. Haslam says yes. He is 1,000% committed. He is stepping back from the quarterback decision. He hired the 60-year-old with the proven track record and the national championships and the number 1 ranked NFL offense and the back-to-back national titles because he wanted football that is fun to watch, and he found the person whose entire career proves he can deliver it. The revolution is not coming. It is already here. It is being installed in practice reps and meeting room sessions and the specific daily work that Monken has been demanding since the day he walked into the building. And by year 2 and year 3, if the organizational commitment holds and the quarterback competition produces the answer and the youngest team in the NFL grows the way young teams grow when they are given the right development environment, Cleveland's offense will not be ugly to watch. It will be something else entirely. Warning disclaimer: this video is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. All quotes, statistics, and information are sourced from Brown's Zone, Dogs by Nature, Dog Pound Daily, Cleveland Browns official website, A to Z Sports, Yardbarker, and other credible NFL media outlets. All analysis and projections are editorial opinion only. This channel is not affiliated with the NFL or Cleveland Browns.